It runs through November 4th at the Playwrights Horizons Theater in New York. Well, all week long, we've been asking the question, what do women want? And from becoming financially secure to finding the best eye cream, we've covered it all. But a physical change won't mean much if you're not happy. Here to show us how to find happiness is life coach Margie Warrell. Margie is author of the book, Find Your Courage, Unleash Your Full Potential and Live the Life You Really Want. You know, I think it's difficult sometimes to answer that question of what do I really want? I know in my life when I've had come across some hurdles and thought, okay, it's time for a change, and you sit down and you think about that question, how do you arrive at the answer?
Yeah, I think it takes a lot of reflection and soul searching, and I think also as we get older in life and we learn more about ourselves and we experience more of life, we start kind of getting new ideas about what is it we want. You know, I think it evolves as we grow.
I think what else that is nice about the way you try to tackle that question is you ask, what inspires me and what difference do I want to make for others? Because it's not always about us.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Whilst I think happiness comes from within, it really is something that's an internal thing. But when it comes to really fulfilling our need to feel happy, I think when we look outside ourselves to others, how can I serve others? What can I do with my life that will make a difference for those around me?
And that therein brings on happiness. The other question that you ask is, what is it I'm afraid of? And I think that's also a really tender question for most people because you're not talking about catastrophes necessarily.
No.
You're talking much more poignant issues.
Yeah. You know, our fear seeks to serve us. It's trying to protect us from harm. It's trying to keep us safe. But the thing is, if we can't identify the fears that are holding us back in life, it can really keep us from our happiness. So I really think that ultimately to be happy, it takes courage, because courage isn't the absence of fear, it's action in the presence of it. And the things that people feel afraid of are like being vulnerable, being rejected, having your friends criticize you, making mistakes, having people, perhaps say some words about you don't like. So
failing is a fear that most people have. But frankly, failure is a part of success. And any successful person has probably failed before. They've just picked themselves up and kept going.
Yeah, in fact, I think successful people have failed a lot more than people who aren't successful. Anything worth doing has an element of risk. And I think the biggest risk we take is not taking any risk.
We have a caller from Nevada. What's your comment or question this afternoon?
Hello?
Hello, go ahead.
Yes, I'm not happy. I just been having a very difficult time finding a very satisfying job, and every job I have is very frustrating and stressful.
So how can she tackle finding a more fulfilling job, but also maybe understand that the job isn't about making you happy either, I don't think.
Yeah, I think really it's getting clear about, well, what is it that she ultimately wants? Sometimes we can kind of get caught up with the little things that aren't going well along the way. I mean, life's like a rose. It has its share of thorns. It's not to say that sometimes there's challenges and it's hard when we have setbacks and we lose a job. But I really think to ask yourself, what is it that I really want? And when it comes to finding a job, don't let those setbacks deter you. Often to get to the top of the mountain, we've got to kind of go through a lot of setbacks along the way. So it's staying the course.
And let me just do the third one. And what do I need to do, say, or let go of today? What does that mean?
It's all about taking action. No action is necessarily going to guarantee happiness, but there's no happiness without action.
You got to start somewhere.
Yeah, and
procrastinating is not going to do a thing.
If nothing changes, nothing changes. I know it's simple, but it's profound. If we don't do anything differently, we're going to keep getting more of the same.
So I think for the caller, maybe finding happiness in the job isn't the answer necessarily, but starting to find happiness by moving into a different direction may be the way to go.
Yeah, and I think really it's about attitude a lot of the time. I mean, it might not be the current job people are in often isn't the ideal job that they're in, but doing that job the best that they can. It doesn't mean taking your eye off, the ball as far as wanting something more out of life. It's not just giving up and going, all right, I'll content myself with this. But it's saying, this is where I am today, and what's the spirit that I bring to what I'm doing today?
You actually outlined some of the actions that happy people take, which I thought was pretty interesting. Don't just think it, ink it.
Yeah.
Writing it down means you make a commitment to it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think writing something down is a powerful thing to do, and I really encourage people to write it down. Likewise, I say share it with people around you.
Because then you got to own it.
Yeah, you know, then they can hold you accountable and say, how's it going with that training for that marathon?
Right.
Or, you know, looking at changing career or whatever it is. So sharing it with people.
Identify the first steps, reflect, and connect daily. Don't forget that this is something that you have to think about every day. Just like you eat and breathe, this is about your life and being happy.
And I always say, don't let the choices you've made in the past define your future. You get to define who you are and determine what you want out of the future. So reflecting daily on what is it I want to move toward. Don't get stuck on the past, but focus on what it is I want in the future.
And never forget to engage in that courageous conversation, which I think we've done today.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for coming in.
Absolute pleasure.
The book is called Find Your Courage by Margie Warrell.